Okay, my name is Charlie Smith. I'm editor of the Georgia Straight. I'm here with Kevin O'Leary, who's perhaps best known as co-host of the Lang & O'Leary Exchange. Kevin has a new book, Cold Hard Truth on Business, Money, and Life. And Kevin is well known for being an abrasive interviewer with some of his guests, particularly the ones of the left-wing persuasion, like Chris Hedges recently, who was talking about Occupy Wall Street. So I'm going to give Kevin a little bit of his own medicine.
Absolutely.
And the first thing I'm going to ask, did you write this book because you want to make more money?
No, I actually wrote it because I think that every entrepreneur that has success owes the next generation a roadmap on how to get there, because I'm a big believer in entrepreneurialism. I think it's very important for our country. It advances Canadians. It helps people get jobs. It makes our country great. So if I can help the next generation, I want to do that, and that's why I wrote the book.
I'm curious why you were so obnoxious when you interviewed Chris Hedges about Occupy Wall Street. At the end of the interview, he was ripping off the microphone. What were you trying to accomplish?
What I found so interesting about Chris, and the problem I had with his views, is I don't want to insult anybody. That's not what I do. But I will attack an idea that I think has no merit and is bankrupt. And Chris came on my show, Lang & O'Leary Exchange, and basically had a premise. He said he wanted to throw every banker in jail. That is not a good idea. It has no merit as a concept. The idea that everybody in financial services is a criminal is ridiculous. And I thought he sounded, when he said that, preposterous. And I called him out on it.
Okay, Warren Buffett says billionaires like him should be paying more personal income tax. And you're pretty rich. Do you think you should be paying more personal income tax?
Well, nothing's stopping Warren from giving all of his money to the government if he wishes to. And I think if he wants to do that, he should. That's not what I want to do. I want to give as little money as I can to the government because I think it goes there and it's wasted. I think 1/3 of every dollar the government spends is completely wasted. I'd rather give my money to entrepreneurs that can set up businesses, because the only job worth anything in this country is one from the private sector. The rest are on our backs. So everybody working for the government has to be paid from somebody that's working in the private sector. That's why I want to shrink government, make it smaller, and give it less money.
Well, one of the things Robert Reich, an economist, tax law professor Neil Brooks, Linda McQuaig, they've looked at the growing gap between the high income earners and the 99%. And what they've reported in their books, which were published last year, is that the top 1% of income earners in the United States are collecting 24% of the income. The last time we had this magnitude of differential, 1%, 24%, was 1928, right before the stock markets crashed, the real estate markets crashed, and their point is that when the 1% are collecting so much money that this creates bubbles in the real estate market, stock market bubbles that pop, and a whole bunch of average people end up losing their jobs. What's your response to that argument?
I don't agree with any of it. I think it's completely incorrect to assume that what happened in the 20s is relevant to today when we're in a global economy is incorrect. So here's my thesis. You know, you talk about 1% having a significantly larger portion of the wealth. That's true, and we should celebrate it because it gives us an example for everybody else to aspire to. I want every Canadian to be filthy rich. That's why I wrote this book. I think it's very, very good that that happens because those are the people that pay all the taxes. That's what makes this country great. All the government services you enjoy come from the majority of the taxes paid by the fewer people that have the wealth. They pay the taxes. So I look at it this way. What can I do today to make somebody in Canada richer? And can I get up in the morning with X dollars and go to bed with more dollars? I want people to think that way.
That's ridiculous. What you have in, no, it is, Kevin. Let's be realistic. In British Columbia, the top income tax bracket, when you're making $128,800 a year, is 43.7%. Any income over and above that. That doesn't include money deducted for, RRSP contributions. And in the past, we had high tax brackets. The highest tax bracket, first of all, would kick in at higher income levels. And secondly, these tax brackets were significantly higher. And then when you look at a country like Sweden or the Scandinavian countries, how would you explain that when there's less income inequality, you have longer lifespans, and a generally healthier population.
Well, you've raised two questions, so let's address them separately. First of all, I agree with you. The taxation rates are ridiculously high. 43% is outrageous. We've got to drop that down to 20. Well, I assume that's what you meant, so I'm with you on that. We've got to get it down to 20%. But let's talk about what works in Sweden and some of these countries that you're calling socialist. They're not socialist at all.
I didn't call them socialist, Kevin. You have put words in my mouth on 2 occasions. You're not helping me. There's a British epidemiologist named Richard Wilkinson. Are you familiar with him?
No, I'm not.
I didn't think you would, because Richard Wilkinson has looked at when income inequality grows, not only do the life expectancies of the poor diminish, but the life expectancies of the rich diminish. And this would be obvious to anyone who's looked at Latin America in its heyday in the 1980s, which you probably look at as a halcyon time. And I'm wondering, what possible benefit is it when 1% of the income earners are taking home 24% of the national income?
Let me explain. Let's go back to Sweden and talk about why that society is so successful. And let's look at the Swiss as well. So what happens there is they have very, very high personal income taxes, but incredibly low corporate tax. And here's why it works. If I want to start a business, I'm going to go to a jurisdiction like Sweden where I pay very low corporate tax. As an investor, that works for me. I don't care what people are paying on their income tax because they're not likely to move. Corporations can move to low-tax jurisdictions. People don't. Their model works. So in some ways, I kind of agree with it. What I'd like to do in Canada is this: lower our corporate taxes to 0, get our actual income taxes down to a flat 20%, and then charge user fees on everything you want to use in this country. You want to use a road, you pay. You want to use a service, you pay. I'm happy with that. So in that way, it's much fairer, and I know you're going to support this and get behind it. I'm really proud of you for doing that.
What I find amusing is that you're talking about something that is more right-wing than anything I could possibly comprehend, and it makes me wonder, who did you vote for in the last election?
Well, look, there's no question about this, and I don't deny it. I'm slightly right-wing of Attila the Hun, and as far as I'm concerned, we need a lot more Kevin O'Learys in this country.